You have probably seen how over time more and more projects have been adopting the new Unity input system, but you couldn't yet figure out how to do it yourself. Then let me show you how to use it in your own project by building a basic FPS game. So go get your Unity project ready, follow my steps. Okay, hope you're ready. Let's do this. New project. 3D. Select 2021.1.0 of 1. Set your project name. Unity Input System. Create project. Wait for it to load and now onto installing the input system. Package Manager. If you don't have it here, Windows, Package Manager. Change from Packages in Project to Unity Registry. Search for input and you should get input system. Install. It'll take a while. And while installing, it'll give you this pop-up about the fact that the project is still using the old input system while you're trying to use the new one. This will just disable the old input system and enable the new one. Since we will be only using the new one, that's totally fine. Okay, now let's set up the scene. So in scene view, right click on the hierarchy, create 3D object, plane, reset, now scale it to around 5, so just so you have some space to play around in. Okay, create a material now, call it floor, for example, drag and drop it onto the material, onto the plane, click on the material, set it to some dark color, remove some of the smoothness just so it's more visible where you are. Add a cube. It should already. Okay, now let's reset. Move it a bit to one side as a reference point. Now onto the player itself. Go to capsule, reset as well. Bring it a bit up, back. And why not, just so we know where is what. Create cube inside as a child of the capsule. Resize somewhat like this. Apply the material and there we go. He's got some nice looking glasses now. Okay, so that way we know this is front. Actually, I am saying that I would prefer it to be looking to this side. Mainly because of the arrow here. To make it feel a bit more like we are in an FPS scenario, just give him a cylinder. There we go. Rotate it around 90 degrees. You can see it right here. Move it to one side. Scale it down. And by the way, changing the different tools with W, E and R on the keyboard. Move it a bit to the front, scale it again, scale it to make it a bit longer, move it a bit to the front again, somewhere around here. We'll be maybe changing that a bit more once we have the camera in there. And talking about the camera, let's take it here, the main camera from the hierarchy, and just place it inside of the capsule. Where do we have it? Okay, that's not where we want it. Reset it. There we go. Now move it a bit up where the glasses around should be. Move it a bit to the front. And as you can see in the small window right here, it kind of looks already like an FPS scene. Okay, and that would be basically the entire scene. Next step. To the capsule itself, first off, call it player so it's more obvious, and add to the player a character controller. We'll add component right here. Now, for the actual inputs for the new input system, we'll be using player inputs. Why are we using this? This will help us to detect our new inputs and will basically give us a ton of advantages. This is asking us for an input action asset. So in our project window, let's click on create and add an input action asset right here, down at the very bottom. Call it, just leave it at new controls, why not? Okay, open it. You get this window right here. Right now it's completely empty. what we'll need to be able to use it is a map first off. For that, in action maps, click on the little plus sign right here. This will create directly a new map. Let's call it player. In the new action, rename it to move and change its action type to value and control type to vector 2. Perfect. Now we'll be working on the bindings, basically the controls you want to be using to perform a move action basically. So this right here are all the actions you want to make. In our case, moving and looking, actions you usually do with your WASD keys and your mouse. To do that, click on bindings, add 2D vector composite and call it WASD for your movement keys. Now we have here directly pre-made up, down, left and right. What will it be? Click on up, click on path, click on listen and press the W on your keyboard. On down, same thing. Listen, S and select. Left, listen, A, select and right, listen, D, select. There we go, this is set up. Now we'll be needing the same thing for look. For that, create a new action. Call it look. Change action type to value and control type as well to vector 2. Now, click on the plus icon, add binding, and on the binding, path, mouse and delta. This will already take care of using your mouse to perform the look action. And that's everything you need about your input action asset. So just close this off, save it. You could as well click on auto save if you don't want to be saving it manually, but I'll just save it right like this. And while you're at it, player and drag your new controls to the action input asset. Now let's create the actual player movement script. Right click, create C# script and call it player movement like usual. Double click to open it. To be able to use anything input system related, you will be needing the using Unity engine.input system. Okay, now let's create a way to reference our input actions. So public player input and call it a player input as well. Now to get the two actions we created earlier, we'll need input action, move input and input action look input. Okay, there we go. Now to set them, in the start method we'll need to set move input to player input dot actions. Open this up and open two of these up and get move right here. The exact way we named it in our input action asset, including the uppercase and lowercase letters. Keep in mind that. Semicolon and same thing for the look input. So just Control D at the end of this line to duplicate it. Call this look input to get our look input from up here and get right here the look action. And that's technically all the setup will be needing. So in this case right now, what this is doing is it's taking a player input and our move actions right here, and every time the move action is being performed, this will get an input. So to test that, debug.log move input dot read value, because we want to read the value it's giving us. Open and close these ones, vector 2 and semicolon, and this should be giving us already the value of move input. Let's test it. save it, go back to our scene, let it compile, click on player. We already added our input asset to the player input itself. Now add the player movement right here and click on player input and drag it right here. Okay, so it should have it now. Let's just open console to be able to see our debugs and start. As you can see down there, right now we are getting a log of absolutely 0 because we aren't pressing any buttons. Now, if we will be pressing buttons, like for example, I will be pressing W to go forward. As you can see, there is now a value. Same thing if I will be pressing S, A or D. Everything here changes depending on the button I press. Great, so now let's use this to actually move our character. Okay, back in our script, delete the debug and make a basic player movement script. Now, as a quick disclaimer, the following code we're going to write right now was thoroughly explained in our Unity beginner course.
So I built this complete Unity masterclass course in which you're going to learn how to build real games and how to build them from scratch. So you're going to learn how to build a platformer game, how to build a Space Invaders clone, how to build a Fruit Ninjas clone and optimize it for mobile and export it for mobile as well, how to build a first-person shooter game, and finally how to build a tycoon game similar to Adventurist, which is an endless game. So if you want to become a real game developer, definitely check out the course. You can find the link in the description and you will get the course with a huge discount, so don't hesitate, as you will not only get the course, but you will also get it in a structured manner with all of the code as well as a Q&A section with a 5-star support. So get the course now. I hope to see you there.
Since this tutorial is meant to be explaining the new Unity input system, we won't be going too much over this point right here. So if you just want to test this, copy paste from what I will be doing right now and use it in your own project or use your own movement system. But don't worry, it's actually a pretty simple script. Let me just... and there we go. So how do we make this work with the new input system? We need these 4 places occupied. For that, we'll be using the same thing we had before. I have it here handy actually, and let's copy paste it right here. So move action. It's not move action in this case, it's move input. Let me change it. Okay, there we go. So the x-axis of move input. Give it the .x here, so it's only taking the x-axis, and basically same thing down here, but for the z-axis. Down here in float mouse X, you just want to add look input. Same thing for down here, but again, instead of X, we want the Y-axis. Great, okay, perfect. Now, this script is now doing everything your typical movement script will be doing with input.get button down, but now this time it's actually using the actions your player input has from your input action asset. So really the scripting doesn't change that much, it just needs a bit more of preparation. But really this will give you a lot of advantages. Save, go back to your scene, let it compile, and we are back in scene. Okay, click on player, you'll see the options right here, and now we need an actual player body. We don't have a player body set right now. This player movement is moving the player itself, and then for rotation, up and down rotation, it will be needing a player body. For that to happen, best thing will be to create an empty game object, call this player, click on reset to place it around. Let's actually copy this component to have it in the exact position we want it. Paste and push. There we go, position. Now drag the player in here, call the player body, something like this. Now we'll be needing to copy, do move all of these different things, components we added to the main player right here. So just simply copy component and remove. And here, right click, paste, component as new. And continue with basically all of them. Right click, copy component, right click again, remove component, click on this, right click, paste component as new. And there we go. The only thing that is left on the player body is a capsule collider. On the player we have the character controller, the player input and the player movement. Click and drag the player input into the player input field for the player movement script. Get the character controller and drag it in here as well. Great. Now we need a player body. Since we set that up, just click and drag it from the hierarchy in here. That's it. Now to testing it, save the scene, click on start, and as you can see, even though it's like really sensitive, let's actually bring that a bit down to even 10 or something like that. Okay, that's much better. We have look controls, up, down, side to side, and pressing the keys, we can move. A full player controller with the new input system. Perfect. That was pretty easy. We just went and reused our existing player movement code, as you can see right here. Okay, that was pretty easy, wasn't it? So, all that big thing about how difficult the input system is, yeah, I mean, it is a few more steps to set up, but do you know where the actual power behind it is? Did you ever try to implement GamePad controls to move your character with Xbox controller? Basic thing, right? Something like that can transform into a big task that it's just not that nice. I just didn't enjoy it a single time. But now with the new input system, I just plugged in my Xbox controller. So let's go to project again, click on the input action asset, and do you know what you need to set up now to be able to use an Xbox controller? It's as easy as open this, click on here, new 2D vector composite, and instead of the WASD keys, let's rename this to joystick. In up, just go to path, gamepad, and on the left stick, up for up, again down for down, left for left, and right for right. And now for look, plus icon, add to the vector composite, call it joystick, and now instead of the left stick, just go to gamepad, down here somewhere, right stick, perfect, up for down, down, left, again make sure it's the right stick, left and right, right. Okay, just save asset, close the window, start the game, and just like that we are moving. I am not touching the keyboard nor the mouse, I am just moving around with my gamepad, with my Xbox One controller actually. No need for additional programming, no scripting, nor anything. That's everything you needed to do. And that's the exact same thing with every single other controller. Just open the asset input action asset and add whatever controller you need. And the same thing goes for whatever action you may want. Do you want to jump? Add a binding and make the space button perform that jump action, and then read that in your script and you have another action done. Or is it that you want to change your controls completely once you step into another scene, or once you start maybe controlling a car or something like that? Then create a new map here and call it car. Same thing, create all the actions with all the controls you may want, and then the only thing that is needed to do is, let's save it, is go to the player itself and control the map that is being used. So right now maybe we'll change it to car. Obviously no, nothing is going to happen, but imagine you just step into a car, your script accesses the player input component and changes from player to car. That's it. It's not easy. Once the initial setup is done, really using the new input system is way more advantageous than sticking with the old input system. There is a good reason why the new input system was even created. So, now that you know how to use the new input system, go and finally update your project to it. I know you've been wanting to do so since the past 6 months, but hey, not before liking, subscribing and doing the bell thingy. More tutorials and videos are on the way and you don't wanna miss it. Good luck and bye!